Alright, so this Knife Thoughts video is going to be on Opinel knives. And I'm not 100% sure that I'm pronouncing that correctly, but either way, it's a very familiar name if you are interested in knives. So I'm sure you'll know what I mean. And the first thing I want to talk about is that these knives were sent to me by Northern Knives, so you can check them out at northernknives.com. They're a knife dealer, and they also do some custom work, kind of modifications, sharpening, and they have also a line of knives called Three Dog Knife. They're based in Alaska, so kind of like Three Dog Knife. So they've got a lot of cool stuff, and they were kind enough to send these knives and a couple others that I'll be doing videos and articles on also. So big thanks to Northern Knives, and don't forget to check them out. I'll put a link to their site and some more info in the section below the video here. And this is going to go along with an article that I'm writing for them, for their website, and I'll also post it at knifethoughts.com. So definitely check out the article. It'll be linked in the comments, and or not the comments, the info section, and check out Northern Knives. But this video is about the Opinel knife, or the Opinel brand, and why it makes a great EDC knife. So in the article, I give 5 reasons. That's going to be kind of the basis of this video, but I'll talk about some other things that I don't necessarily talk about in the article, and give you a look at some of the things that I do talk about. So the first thing to know about Opinel is that they're a French company from, again, I don't speak French, although I wish I did, Savoy, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, France. And they've been in business for a long time, since well before the 20th century. And they've been making knives for a long time with this same very traditional classic design. In fact, they've won awards for the design and been recognized for that. But they do have lots of other knives. So the 3 knives that I'll be showing here today are some of their classic beechwood handled pocket knives. But they do also make some kitchen knives and some outdoor knives and things like that. And you can find all of those and info about them at their website. But this video will focus on the pocket knives. So the first thing that's really cool about Opinel knives is that they have a knife for every size. No matter what size knife you need, they have one for it. And I don't have the full range, but I have a few that'll give examples of that. So this is the number 5. And does go down to number 2, which has an under 2-inch blade. But this is a pretty small one. You can see it's non-locking, which I'll talk about in a little bit here. But it's a non-locking knife and a nice small blade. So if you just need something that you can throw in your watch pocket, or just to have, when you need a little knife in your car or at the office or whatever. And then they have bigger ones. So the lock that I'll talk about here in a second. They have that on the bigger ones. And even bigger, this is a number 9. It's a little bigger than, I believe the main or the first one was the number 8. This one's been modified a little bit, which I'll talk about in a second. But they go all the way up to the number 13, which has an almost 9-inch blade. So there's going to be one that's going to fit your needs, the size of knife that you're looking for, whether you need a teensy tiny little one to, cut threads off of your clothes and things, real simple things like that, all the way up to just a behemoth of a 9-inch bladed folding knife that you could use for whatever. I mean, filleting tuna, So there's a size for whatever you need. Another thing about them is that the handles are really nice. So I use this one as an example here. The handles are not just flat like a lot of modern knives and even some traditional knives. They have this nice palm swell, so you can see that, and it makes it so it fits well in your hand. If you do need to do some harder cutting with it, it fills your palm because of that kind of thicker area there. And then it has this little butt at the end, which allows the blade to be covered, but also gives you a little bit of purchase there with your pinky finger. And it's true for the larger sizes also. On the smaller sizes, you're probably not going to be using the knife super hard like that, but that it still feels good in the hand with a 3-finger grip. So I like that. I like, some modern knife companies like Spyderco and things like that are starting to do more contouring on their handles, which does make them feel better in use. But this is a great example of the fact that that's been done for a long time and done really well with these Opinel handles. And beyond the shape of the handles, they're really lightweight because they're just plain wood. This wood is beech, and Opinel says that they source 95% of their wood from local French forests that are sustainably managed. So you don't have to worry about, that sort of concerns. Another thing about the handles, although I don't have examples, they do have some really nice exotic wood handle options. They're a little bit more expensive, but they are nice looking, and they have other depending on if you want to get a fancier one, they have some with engraving and stuff like that, and they even have some more modern ones with synthetic handles that have like different tools in them, like a line cutter and a whistle and things like that. So they've got lots of options, and it makes it nice to have different options on the handle. Now, along with that, something I didn't mention too much in the article is that they also do have other blade shapes. So they make gardening knives also. So they'll have a spear-pointed gardening knife. They have a hawkbill gardening knife. They even have a saw, so you can get an Opinel saw. And then beyond that, they do have some slim fillet models that have a slimmer blade and a slimmer handle with a little bit of a different shape. So lots of different options on both the handles and the blades. Moving on to another thing is that they're really non-knife enthusiast friendly. So as I mentioned in the article, and I'm sure anyone watching this wishes it wasn't the case, but sometimes you do need to have a knife that's a little bit less, flashy or what non-knife enthusiasts might call scary, although that's silly, but than a tactical modern knife that you can flip open with one hand and has black all over it, and scary looking blade and stuff. And this fits the bill for that. So, this is not one of the biggest ones. This is one of the smaller ones. But either way, just because it has this really classic design, it has a wooden handle that's shaped kind of traditionally. I think even people who've never seen an Opinel, or people who are not friendly to knives, when they see these knives, they see them as everyday tools that aren't something you have to worry about someone having. So I think that they're really a good option if you work somewhere where you can't have a more tactical knife, or you are going somewhere where it's you don't want to pull out a big knife. And also, because they're two-handed opening, there are places where you can only have two-hand opening knives. So that's another thing. Now some of them do lock, like I said, and the lock that they have was designed by one of the people in the Opinel family. And they call it the Virobloc, and this is the second generation of it, where you can both lock it open, so it's a twist lock. You can see you twist this ring and it locks the blade. And then you can also lock it closed. So that's another thing, is that they're safe knives because you don't have to worry about accidentally opening them, or someone opening them when they shouldn't, or it coming open in your pocket, because it actually locks closed, right? So it's a safe knife and a non-knife friendly good knife, or friendly knife, however you want to say that. I'm sure you know what I mean. And another thing, they're really inexpensive. So they range, these really small ones can be in the $10 to $15 range. The bigger ones maybe $15 to $25, and then the really, really big ones, or the specialized ones with exotic handles and things like that, can be more expensive. But generally they're really inexpensive, so that you can get one, you can use it, not worry about it, and just have it as a tool. But on the other hand of that, because they do offer the more unique handles, and because they are so classic looking, it's something that you can get and have as an inexpensive thing, but still an heirloom quality thing. So certainly Opinel talks about it a lot on their site, but it's certainly true that you could get and use an Opinel and then pass it down to your son or daughter, or whatever, as an heirloom. And I think that's a thing that's important to a lot of people, especially in the knife community, because they are things that we appreciate. So that's another thing about the Opinel. Finally, one thing that that is really my favorite thing about Opinels is the thin blade. So a lot of modern knives have thicker blades, and it comes from the hard use or tacticalness of them. But these Opinels have really nice thin blades. So I'll show you all three, because they actually are, I believe, all three different thicknesses depending on the size of Opinel. You can see these two are different thicknesses, and then we have the 5, which is even thinner. But they're all nice and thin. And, sometimes I see people say, oh, I didn't like a knife because it had a thin blade. And I'm not, disparaging those people or those comments, but I think for 99 at least percent of people and 99 at least percent of their cutting needs, the things that they actually need a knife for, a thin blade is going to work better because it just has less thickness to move through the material. So when you're cutting, it's just going to cut easier because of that, because there's less material to move through whatever you're cutting. So I really like the thin blades. It makes them cut really well. You can see I've used this one. And another thing that I didn't talk about too much in the article is that they do have both non-stainless or carbon, as you can see this says blades, and stainless. So their carbon steel blades, so far from this one, and I've used them before and have had them patina, but it doesn't seem to, be super prone to rust compared to other carbon steel. So it's not like it's a low-end carbon steel. I think it's a good carbon steel, and their stainless steel is good also. I've used it. So you do have the option between those two. And as a bonus in the article, and I guess a bonus here, another nice thing is that they do, because they're wooden handles, they're really easy to modify. Now the reason I modified this one, and I know that this is not a good looking modification, I'm gonna smooth it out once I have better sanding equipment and stuff, and finish it with some oil and everything. But the reason I did it to this one is because one thing that I do want to mention, just for full disclosure, is I don't know if you can tell, but they can get a little bit tight. So every now and then, because it is just wood, if moisture gets in there or something like that, they can be a little bit tight to open. And so what I did on this one is I just carved this down a little bit so that instead of using the fingernail nick, which I use them a lot and everything, I don't have a problem with them, but now I can pinch it and open it with a pinch grip. And it's a little bit easier. So this is not an aesthetic modification, it's a practical one, and it doesn't hurt the grip at all. I still have that palm swell that I talked about, and I've been using this one a good bit, and still feels good in the hand and everything, but it does make it a little bit easier to open. But the nice thing is that you can, if you have better carving or whittling skills than me, you can make them look really nice. And Opinel even offers some with unfinished handles, so just kind of like a block of wood, so that you can carve them however you want, even without starting from this traditional or classic handle shape that they have. So lots of options for modification. Like I say, they have really nice handles to start with, but you can modify them. They're really inexpensive. They're easy to figure out, easy to use. You just open it up, twist that to lock it. They have this really nice aesthetic that they've been recognized for, and because of that, they're pretty non-knife enthusiast friendly. And they do have all these different sizes so that you can find one that you like, and when you buy it, it's not going to break the bank. So there are a lot of reasons why I like Opinels, why they are something that I think is a great everyday carrier EDC choice, and I think it's worth checking one out. So if you've liked this video, don't forget to go check out the articles both at Northern Knives and knifethoughts.com about the Opinel knife. You can leave a comment below, you can like the video and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to go out and do good.